Fire them up. That's what we do at the Andrew Gosser Show. We fire you up. I'm 1039 WYAB, where we are streaming on Rumble. We are streaming on X. We are streaming on YouTube. No one still doesn't give a flip about Facebook, and we're streaming at the mothership that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick up the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal that is 1039 WYAB, please go help us grow the channel, grow the station. Like, share, and subscribe to the stream. Share it on Facebook, share it on X, share it wherever it is that you go and post. Instagram, TikTok, doesn't matter. We appreciate it. You can follow me on X at Andrew Gosser, AndrewGasser. And the phone number today, if you want to be part of the program, 601 879 0002. Text line is open at 601 879 5060. And the mission here is standard, ladies and gentlemen. The mission here is standard at the Andrew Gosser Show. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by a renewal of your mind, that by testing, you may discern what is the will of God and what is good and acceptable and perfect. I have to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, that yesterday's show, it's the first time I've told people you need to go back and listen to that show if you missed it. And I'm going to try to have it chopped up to get all the gaps during the commercial breaks and the dead air, and I'll try to do that. But what you heard yesterday was someone who was skeptical about the picture being taken originally in 2023. And by the time we got off the air, Illuminati confirmed. Deep State confirmed. Whatever you want to call it. Tinfoil conspiracy theorists are now 77-0-1. 77-0-1, people. That picture's from 2023. I've saved all the grok research and everything like that, and slowly but surely, as I get time and I get back into my home studio, the Sweet Bee even said, you've got to put this together. You've got to make a video on it. And the sad part is, and we know this, and I've got all sorts of stuff here. We'll get into it, but people have already forgotten about the photo of Mitch McConnell being photoshopped, doctored, and no one cares. Truly, no one cares. Move it on to other stuff. Yes, I know President Trump will be making a speech to the nation on this Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Mississippi time. Inevitably something to do about Iran and what's going on there. And I've got so much from the stack of stuff of yesterday, it kind of played into my show prep for today. What we did in Iran yesterday, I should have been talking about all the gee whiz cool stuff that we were doing to try to bring this war to an end. But when we see manipulation of the American people in the very highest order, we need to talk about that. And I had somebody, I wouldn't necessarily call him a friend. I'd call him a political contact that we just happen to be like-minded in some of our political beliefs. Come up and call me yesterday and said, you're talking some craziness, but I can't help but think that you're going down the right path. And that's what they try to do. The people who point this stuff out in the beginning, they mock you, they ridicule you, they scorn you. They sit there and make you feel like you're the one who's not thinking right. You're the one who's crazy. But it's not true. You just have discernment. You just have the ability to see through all the BS and the smokescreen that they're throwing out there at you. I am quite certain that if I wasn't so zealous to prove that that photo of Mitch McConnell was from 2026, if I would have just pushed it off and moved on, there'd be so many people who wouldn't have believed it. I still have Fireworks open, which is a poor man's version of Photoshop, Adobe CS4 Suite. And I still can't get over the fact that the quality check on that Photoshop was horrible. And to have multiple people run it through AI, come back with almost the exact same results that I got, just further proves the point that, you know, the spirit of delusion is upon the American people. We aren't concerned about the truth anymore. We're more concerned about how we feel. Everybody's so fired up what happened on the coast. God bless Nolan. God be with his family. But we're so fired up about that because of how we feel, not actually what absolutely happened. And I still maintain that whenever the Reverend Al Sharpton, maybe I should call him Shapton, whenever the Reverend Al Sharpton shows up to your event, there is no good that can come of that. And I'm not saying that to fire up anybody. I'm just saying that there is misery and anger and deceit and anarchy. When a reverend shows up, when a saint shows up, it's supposed to be peace, harmony, healing. But that's not what happens. They'll say it all. The devil will say it all. He'll say all the right things to make you feel a certain way. But in the end, you're being deceived and your discernment is weak. You know what people should be fired up about? This is breaking news from WLBT. Former college football player shot and killed on Adams Road in Rankin County. 5 suspects in custody. And that they've now been charged. How come we're not hearing about that from the good Reverend? I've got my suspicions. Kaylee D. Trimble, Samiko Crump, no relation to Ben Crump. I feel I need to put it in there. I don't want to get sued. No relation, as far as I'm aware. Michael Mitchell, Ladarius J. Harrison, Dominique Sanabata, or Sanabria, excuse me, all charged with the murder of this former Ole Miss football player, former Jackson State football player. I don't know all the particulars behind Mr. Bowie, but I do know he was shot down in cold blood by 5 people. And you don't hear Ben Crump talking about that. You don't hear the Reverend Al Sharpton talking about that. You don't hear the Southern Poverty Law Center talking about that. The more this onion gets peeled down about what happened down on the coast, the more we realize it's a tragic situation, a horrible situation. And accidents by the water happen all the time. And when I think about all the stupid stuff I did on the water, I grew up in a town called Fox River Grove. And there was a hill there, a sledding hill. And when I was getting ready to go in and to the military and I thought I was gonna do something big, I would swim across the river at night. This river, it was wide, up to a half mile wide. And I can remember swimming across the river at night because I didn't wanna get hit by the boats because I wanted to train myself and test myself. And I think about all the times where I had so many close calls. One time I heard a boat coming and I literally dove to the bottom, and it wasn't a deep river. It's only 12, 15 feet deep. And the boat zoomed right over. I could hear the motor. I could feel the water agitating above me. And the things young men do because we think we're invincible is quite frankly silly. And I'm not saying what Nolan was doing what was silly. I'm just saying there's a lot of bad things that happen. And could there have been foul play? There could be always the potential for foul play. But what the Reverend Al Sharpton has done, and what Attorney Ben Crump has done, has agitated the water, has got everybody angry and fired up. No longer deductive reasoning, no longer discernment, all about the feels. And it's disgusting to me. I'm truly disgusted by it. We want mercy and peace and justice. And these people don't bring mercy. They don't bring peace. They don't bring justice. They bring agony. They amplify despair. They breed misery. And then you throw in the TikTok, the Insta, the Facebook, the X. And the next thing you know, a lie's gone around the world, not 7 times, not 7 times 70 times, but hundreds of thousands, if not millions, and if not millions of times. And good people get fooled by it. Good people get deceived by it. Many good people who genuinely seek mercy, love, justice, peace. Well, the Reverend L. Sharpton saying it, so it must be true. No, that's not it at all. I see a phone caller. We're about to go to a break. You'll have to wait. We won't get justice. We won't get mercy. We won't get peace. What we'll get is a lie that's spread around over and over and over again. Meanwhile, right here in Rankin County, Idarius Eatron Bowie, I think, yeah, Idarius Eatron Bowie from Lena, Mississippi. I hope that's how I say it. I don't want to get my friends in Lafayette County will let me know if I said that wrong. Is dead at the age of 27, shot by somebody in this group of 5 people. Dare I say it, a gang. And we're not upset with that. And I spent so much time over the past couple days really looking at this, and I've been very quiet about this. I know that there have been other people on this radio station who are much more plugged in and much more tuned in to talk about it, and that's on purpose. And they are fighting that culture war, that culture rot. And all I'm saying is that the tools that we're saying are going to be humanity's saving grace are going to be the tools that actually burn down this country because they're perpetuating lies. Look, I see you, caller. We're going to take a commercial break, and when we get back, we'll take phone calls. We'll talk about this. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yep, that's the bizarro world we're living in, and that song is coming from one of my favorite games I ever did play. If you know, you know. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Caller, I know you called a couple times during the break, just didn't want to pick it up during the break. We prefer open discourse and dialogue on the radio waves here on WYAB. So feel free to call, do that. Chat checking in. Brother Dogfish saying that Trump will have some very high profile folks with him to prevent some very interesting evidence pertaining to the 2020 presidential election. I got to think this is Georgia. I got to think this is Arizona. To a lesser extent, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. I just think it's not to say that the fraud didn't happen in those states. I just don't think that the evidence is well documented and preserved in those states as it was in Georgia. And it's frustrating. You know, we've had 2 Republican senators taken out of action. Tragic passing of Lindsey Graham. Whether you agreed with him or not, you don't wish that kind of death on anybody. I don't wish pain and suffering and death on anybody. And what they're doing to Mitch McConnell, I don't know if he's dead or alive, but I know that he's not in front of the camera, and it wouldn't take nothing for one of his staffers, even his chief of staff, to say, "Hey, Mitch, we need to go ahead and do a quick 30-second tic-tac, calm the world down." Can't do that. AI is not good enough. The photoshoppers aren't good enough. They misplaced his thumb. And a great point that a texter just texted in. You notice how the pictures, it's getting harder to find the full picture with the guy's face. They're cropping the picture now in an attempt to get rid of that. Caller, I see you, man. Let's take this phone call. Caller, thank you for calling in. I know that you might have tried a couple times, but we're at the break. It just isn't good. How you doing today?
I'm good, my brother. No, that was not me, but I used to have a football coach that told me, timing is everything.
Yep.
And so you call, you just got to get good timing. Yeah, I'm unfortunately I am of the opinion that the Vince Foster and the other associates that suddenly assumed room temperature, as your boy Rush Limbaugh used to say,
Yep.
are coincidentally very instrumental in circumstances that are taking place in the political realm. And people said, if you remember, Rush used to call him Lindsey Grahamnesty.
Yep.
If you remember correctly.
I do.
And he died of a sudden illness. Lead poisoning. That's what got him. I think Putin took him out because he was close enough that he could get him.
I think that the toxicology report will be very interesting. And here's the worst thing about this, Brother Richard, and I want your opinion on this, is that even if it comes out and it just says he had some type of aneurysm or some type of heart attack, no one's going to believe it. No one trusts it. No one trusts what's coming from ABC, CBS. Go ahead.
Brother, we're still watching documentaries on what killed John F. Kennedy. Are you kidding me?
Yep.
I mean, we're still arguing about that. From 62, 63?
Yeah, 63.
These people just mysteriously disappear. And Mitch McConnell, he hasn't been coherent for the last 2 years, man. That dude, they hide stuff on him like they hid things on Thad Cochran. I mean,
you are the second person. You are the second person today in my circle of influence and friends and peers who brought up the Thad Cochran thing. And this is what gets me so irritated about it, Richard, is that the Republicans are doing the same thing to Mitch that the Democrats did to Joe. And it is completely unconscionable whether it's Joe Biden or Mitch McConnell. It's wrong. And it's abusive.
Oh, yeah. It makes me think about whenever they wouldn't let people go to baseball games, they put cardboard cutouts in the seats to make it appear that they were fans there. But I mean, we are precariously close to a banana republic, man, because there's so much stuff going on. It makes James Bond look like kindergarten.
It really does. And I had that countdown to July 8th, where I thought that was going to be the day that we really couldn't tell the truth from reality anymore. And I feel it's here. Even like my trusted even my trusted news sources like Ground News, Semaphore, even Magnolia Tribune, I like got to double, triple, quadruple check this stuff because facts get reported wrong or words get twisted, and the next thing you know, you're going down a rabbit hole you didn't want anything to do with.
Well, to use some old grandmother wisdom, she used to say, don't believe anything you hear and only half of what you see. It's to the point now where you can't believe anything you hear or see.
That's kind of like where I'm at, which is exactly where the other side wants us, brother. I'll give you the last word, my friend. It's great to hear from you again.
Well, Scripture tells you if you hear something about your brother, you go to him and ask him directly before you go around and spread it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, we don't have the options of going and talking to these people because they made themselves unavailable, so to speak. But you have a good one, brother. Good to hear from you.
Great to talk to you, brother Richard. And you bring up a biblical point. And I get bombarded with these videos on X of people wishing to go back to the 60s, the 70s, the 80s. Black people too, wanting to go back to that time when we had a high trust society. And people are asking, what's the difference between now and then? We've got all these new pharmaceuticals, all these new medicines, all this new technology to make life better, to make life simpler. All that life would be better. But what's the one thing they've taken away? Biblical principles, biblical truths. Now, it's still in the Mississippi Constitution. I want to say Section 3, Article 18. I'll go pull it up. I got it bookmarked. I should have it memorized. I don't. Forgive me. But it says that you were supposed to be using the Bible for instruction. Oh, you can use principles from the Bible, but you can't source it at the Bible. Like Brother Richard said, if you got a problem with the brother, and by the way, it works for sisters too. It's just the language of the time. Doesn't mean that they're racists or bigots. It's the language of the time. It says if you got a problem with your brother, go and talk to him one-on-one. And if it doesn't work, bring witnesses and have that conversation again. And then if that doesn't work, bring them before the congregation and have that conversation. If that doesn't work, then you spit them out. But we don't do that. Instead of letting people do the work that they're entitled to do to remedy these situations, to bring closure and justice and peace and mercy, we get all angry and fired up. We don't sit there and go to our brother one-on-one and say, hey, is this what happened? Oh, no. We got to be the first one on Facebook to make a post that goes viral, or TikTok or Insta or X or Rumble. It's all about the dose of dopamine that you get, the high. Oh my goodness, 250,000 people saw my post. Another 26,000 liked it. Do you know the percentage ratio on that? That's awesome. I need to do more like that. I need to become more of a social media hoe. Man, that's a whole nother subject. A whole nother subject. When we get back, we got to talk about what happened to the beach, what happened to the pool. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Yeah, we're going to talk about when did the public beach and the public pool turn into Danny's strip club. We got to talk about it because what these young girls are wearing now is insanity. And they'll wear it around out in public, but they don't want their pictures taken. Oh, no, 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 no. That's what we're going to talk about. Fire them up. It's what we do. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. Moving and grooving 601 879 0002 is the phone number. The chat spitting some really good ideas out there. I want to say this one. It's coming from Eric, I believe. Foul play is always possible with a politician, but Lindsey Graham's father died of the same heart problem at 69 years old. I don't see that getting plastered anywhere. And I still believe that foul play could be taken care of. Foreign countries are taking advantage of our distrust of new chaos. Yep. Yep. You know what's new chaos? Do you know what's destructive to the American fabric? Beaches and public pools, public beaches and public pools. Because if you've seen some of the swimsuits that these young women are wearing today, these girls, let's call them what they are, 13, 14-year-old girls paying $150 for a swimsuit with about $3 worth of Chinese fabric on it, which does not leave much to the imagination. Something that I try to tell young women who aren't my daughters, but do listen to me and, do seek me out for guidance and counseling on certain things is, if you're embarrassed to wear it in front of me, then you probably shouldn't be wearing it. Unless it's in front of your husband, of course, then you got to do what you got to do. And husbands appreciate that. But going to the public pool, I mean, that was like the big thing when I was a kid. We grew up at the pool in the summertime. And that's where a lot of boys and girls get unsupervised, well, closely monitored interaction. I guess you could say at the playground too, but I mean, the pool was crazy. It was awesome. The high dive at the Cary Public Pool, man, I used to strut my stuff. And from like age 8 to 14, man, that was my place to be in the summer if I wasn't working. Doing gainers, 1.5s, 2.5s, watermelons, suicide the dive off of the diving board, not actual suicide, the actual act. Can't look, we live in such a jaded society. You can't even talk about a dive that you used to do anymore without giving you the preamble. Disgusting. And I say all that because I want to go to the beach. I want people to have a great time, but I don't expect to see basically naked women who were at strip clubs going around. I just don't want to see it. I understand that there's a certain expectation of everybody having their right to go out and have a good time. But again, in public trust society, and a 10 and 11-year-old boy really doesn't need to see that. Oh, Andy, you grew up with Playboy. You've seen it before. You didn't hear what I said. It doesn't mean you should see it. It doesn't mean that you have seen it. And those of you who have seen it and have had negative impacts on your life, almost have a service to say, hey, young man, don't make the same mistake I did. Hey, young lady, don't become an only fangirl. There are all sorts of testimonials out there, rated G testimonials. Some are rated R. But there are all sorts of testimonials of these young women who got a good payday. They were making $25,000 a month for about 4 months, and then the viewership died off. Your old product. No one wants that. Ladies, I'm just telling you now, you got a history like that, no man is going to want to settle down with you. Oh, they'll hook you up for a weekend. You'll go on a lavish trip, but you're not going to be the one that they want to bring home to mama and dad. All eyes on the high dive, Brother Junk says. Man, I'll tell you what, I had some I could dive. I was on swim team for a little bit. It wasn't on the diving team, but I could do the inwards, the backflips, the gainers. And like if I did a 1.5 or a 2.5, my dives into the pool were on point. I'm not gonna say I'm a Greg Louganis type of diver, but I was good. I could hold my own. I could control the splash. It was a lot of fun. But I say all that to say that our society's imploding on itself. Girls are finding that they have to they wanna be pretty. And ladies, you know this, we all wanna look good. Ladies wanna look attractive. They wanna get the eyes. It's how God made you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But modesty is something that is almost completely gone from our culture. And when I'm saying these things, I'm talking to myself and my family too. And what set this all off is these girls walking around basically buck naked on the beach are getting ticked off because older men are taking pictures of them. And they're somehow shocked. They're somehow offended. They just want to go out on the beach and have a good time. Good time is different for different people. But they just want to go out there and enjoy the sun without being harassed. Well, you shouldn't be dressed like a hoe. You shouldn't be dressing yourself to where you're going to get men, especially ungodly men, who are starting to act the fool more and more these days. There is no social conscience anymore. There is no pu- social trust, public trust. There is no public good. There is no high trust society. You're going to get that, and you're going to end up on some guy's Insta page. I would say Facebook, but I don't think guys really like Facebook that much. They're more Insta, TikTok, and X. And I'm saying this for all the girls out there and the mamas. My gosh, have that conversation with your daughter. Have that conversation with your granddaughter. You want a high value man? Well, we want a high value woman. And I've just seen things that I never thought I would imagine seeing in my life. Women getting on TikTok talking about their body counts and the things that happened in Houston over Black Spring Break. And we do not want that gonorrhea and syphilis outbreak in any community. But what happened in Houston is going to have lifelong ramifications for so many young men and women. It's yicky. It's icky to talk about. But we don't even talk about that with our youth anymore. We have public health class with certain demonstrations, but we don't sit there and talk about all the high risk behavior. I mean, I haven't been through driver's ed, but we had to sit through and watch hamburger movies. That's what we called it at Cary Grove High School. And I mean, you saw death from kids who were driving silly, drinking and driving, doing stupid stuff. We don't do that anymore. We don't have a consequence society, really. Well, unless you call Ben Crump and the Honorable Reverend Al Sharpton, and then you'll get some drama. We don't sit there and teach those things in our classrooms anymore, and we persecute the people who do teach it. We persecute the pastor. We persecute the teacher. We persecute the mother and the father who say that it's wrong for their kid to think that they're a girl when they're actually a boy. There's laws in some states, Colorado and Washington and California, where the state can intervene if a parent doesn't agree with their child's choices. There are laws on the books that say that parents after the age of 13 can't go into their child's medical records without their child's permission. Hell, if you do that, then I'm able to kick your butt out the door, and you can live your own life, and you can figure out how to do that. They want all the sinful luxuries, but with none of the godly earthly bounds and restrictions. And restrictions aren't bad. Things that are taboo are probably taboo for a reason. I look at it like back in the Air Force and the Navy: warnings, notes, and cautions. Cautions mean you can do this, but you better be careful, but you can probably get away with it. Notes, you better make sure that you do this in this way, otherwise you're going to get hurt. Warning, if you don't do it this way, you're going to get killed. That's the easiest way I say it. And warnings were always written in blood. 3-1, NATOPS. For all my pilots and aviators out there, if you know, you know. There's a reason that you had your bold face. Do not do. But not in today's society. Not with today's internet. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. We'll be right back. We're going to have an awesome quote from a gentleman spitting facts coming out of the break. Sometimes I let the bumper music go a little bit longer just because I love the song. Is that wrong? You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. And the first hour is, as Rush would say, is proverbially in the can. I want you to listen to this young gentleman spit some facts about what's going on in the United States and why we're crumbling, why our communities are falling apart, why our societies have high distrust of each other. This is it. He nails it down in a nutshell.
I'm not political, all right? I don't believe in Republican or Democrat because it's not in the Constitution. It's not in our Declaration of Independence. It's just American, one nation under God. Whatever they do as one. The trick is to give us the illusion that there is a choice, that there is a separation, to keep us fighting over these things. These things right here. Keep us not talking about the fact that we're working harder. 5 generations now. We're working harder than our great grandparents and our grandparents did, who had no education, who sent their first generations to college. We were on our way somewhere, and then something happened in the 50s. One of the big things I think that happened is they took the Bible out of school.
Bingo.
People don't know, a lot of you young people don't even know the Bible was curriculum. And I'm not religious once again, but the Bible gives us a strong moral code to live by. We were family. We were community. We knew our neighbors. Our children played outside, met new friends. Those new friends wanted to spend the night.
Crowd gathering
and they had to
around
ask their parents, and their parents became friends. Today, mom's in the park on fentanyl, and we think they give us this propaganda about it comes from China, it comes from here. They didn't want this stuff in this country. It wouldn't be here. This is a weapon against us. There is an attack on all of us, red, blue, conservative, liberal, it doesn't matter. The American is under attack.
Yep.
Our dollar is buying a lot less. We're working a lot harder for it.
Yep.
We're losing our constitutional rights, whether you realize it or not.
That man is so true. Wise young man. Wise young man. The one thing I would take a little bit of issue with him is the fentanyl is coming from China, but that's coming from the one world government, the Illuminati, tinfoil conspiracy hats. I would just remind everybody that they're 77-0-1. And that young man has it right. You know, I hear this a lot, especially from people in the community. Why isn't it like the 70s and 80s? Well, they took the Bible out of schools in the 50s, but my generation still had I went to first grade, I think, in 1978. I think. Yeah, because 80, I was in fourth grade. So I can remember my first grade teacher having us singing hymns in the first grade, and they stick with me to today. Why? Because I was a kid and I learned it before they didn't have to get influenced by Tic Tac, by all this other craziness that's out there. But your 13-year-old daughter, do not think for 1 second that if she's got a smartphone and she's got access to the Insta, that she is not being programmed, that she's not being led down a certain path that you as a parent don't want your daughter being on. I say daughters because it's not that boys aren't targeted, but it just seems that daughters are more highly proliferated and sexualized and trafficked. It doesn't say it doesn't happen to boys too. Look, that was just the first hour, ladies and gentlemen. My goodness gracious. What a day. What a day. Look, in the next hour, we're going to talk about more political news. We're going to talk about more education. And we're going to do so from a biblical worldview, because that's what we do here on the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in about 7.5 minutes. About to go live, ladies and gentlemen. About to go live. .com. I actually can sing a couple of the commercials here at WYAB. AC Doctor, a couple others. And we are back here at the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB, where we are streaming on Rumble, where we are streaming on X, YouTube. No one cares about Facebook. And at the mothership, that is WYAB.com. So if you can't pick us up on the 50,000 watt blowtorch of a signal, that is 1039 WYAB, help us grow the station listenership. Help us grow the channel. Like, share, and subscribe to the stream. Share it with a friend. Share it with a family neighbor, family member. Share it with a liberal. Let's make it happen, ladies and gentlemen. Look, the phone number, if you want to be on the station today, on the radio today, is 601-879-0002. Text line is open, 601-879-5060. But the mission here at the Andrew Gosser Show is standard. We are here to equip the saints. Who are the saints? You all are the saints. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed with the renewal of your mind, that by testing you may discern that what is the will of God, what is good, acceptable, and perfect. And ladies and gentlemen, there's only one place to start. Times Square, New York City.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allah.
That's about enough of that. That was on July 12th, ladies and gentlemen. That was on July 12th. Yet, there's a new ordinance passed that Christian street preachers are threatened by police officers for offensive speech in Times Square. See how that works? Well, how did this happen, Andy? How did this happen?
The border is closed. The border is secure.
The border is secure.
The only reason the border is not secure is Donald Trump and his MAGA Republican friends.
Yep. We have an influx of illegal immigrants here who are bringing a culture that doesn't have a high trust society. I'm telling you this right now. There's not a high trust society in Tehran, Iran, or Bandar Abbas, or all the other cities that I used to know by heart but can't remember anymore. That is not a high trust society. That is a high government society using religion, a false religion, as a cover to go ahead and be intrusive to humanity. to subjugate women. Andy, aren't you trying to subjugate women by telling them what they can wear on the public beach? I'm just saying that they need standards. Do you got high standards, girls? Do you have good high standards, moral standards? People are already asking for those videos. Yep, I'll repost them now on my X account. If you're not following me on X, you're missing out. I always post what I use because I want you to think. I don't want you to think the way I think. I want you to believe what I want, what I feel is correct by trusting but verifying. And the thing is on September 10th, 2026, a statue that was handcrafted by renowned Italian sculptor Sergio Ferrani is going to be placed at Times Square, right where the call to prayer was, the Islamic call to prayer. Do you know what the statue is? It's a statue of the saint, not the Catholic saint, but the saints that you and I are, of Saint Charlie, sitting in his chair, holding a microphone. Ladies and gentlemen, I just retweeted that. It's a video, and it's got him polishing it up and making it look good. It is breathtakingly good. I hope it survives Times Square. It won't be the right-wing radicals that are destroying leftist obelisks, idols, false temples. Nope, it's not the right that's doing it. It's the left tearing everything down. And this is an argument that I get thrown at me, especially by some on the right, not so many on the left, because the left know what they know. The International Court. Well, I'll just does this sound presidential to you? Let me ask you that. Does this sound presidential to you?
For 250 years, Americans have governed ourselves as a free and sovereign people. We choose our own leaders, we determine our own laws, and when we're accused of a crime, we stand for judgment before a jury of our own peers.
And sometimes those juries are great and sometimes they're not. Sometimes the guilty get let off, which is how the system works. But there are some instances where the innocent get convicted of a jury by their peers, and that's just the way it is.
This is the essential and indispensable feature of our form of government. It is the foundation of our shared way of life. But today, powerful people in faraway places want to take that away from us. They believe that they should be in charge of your laws, of your country, your life, and they don't care whether or not you agree. Halfway across the world, there's an institution that calls itself the International Criminal Court. Maybe you've heard of it, maybe you haven't. But chances are you don't know the names of its judges, of its prosecutors, or its president.
Does anybody know any of the judges on the ICC? Does anybody know the president? Without Googling it, without going to AI to ask, does anybody know? Because honestly, I don't give a rat's rear end about the ICC or what they do. They don't, they should fall under American law. Where do those judges come from? The DR Congo? Iran? China? Russia? Where did these judges come from? Do they follow the Declaration of Independence? Does it follow the Constitution of the United States? Or is it a socialist, monolithic type of court that seeks to stamp out liberties, freedoms, cherished traditions, all in the name of progress, of course, all in the name of progress?
And you shouldn't have to. But as we speak, the ICC and its friends are waging a war against our country, not with bullets or missiles, but with statutes, compacts, and the force of so-called international law.
Yeah, so international law just needs to go right out the window. You want to see international law? Go look at France. Go look at Spain. Go look at England. Go look at Belgium, who took out the United States men's national team in the World Cup. Their hometown of Brussels is completely overran and is nothing like the men's national team of Belgium.
When the ICC was born 24 years ago, they told us that it was merely a narrow backstop, a global court that would step in to prosecute only the gravest offenses, things like genocide and war crimes, and only when a nation's courts were unable to prosecute them on their own. But the truth is, it was something far more radical and extreme. It was a global tribunal staffed by unelected globalist bureaucrats who claim their power is almost unlimited.
Isn't that how it always starts with governments and bureaucrats and power brokers? Dare I say this deep state or whatever you want to call it? It's these bureaucrats who think they have unlimited power to go do what they want, to regulate you and your lives, how much water you should consume, how much electricity you can consume, what you eat, what you read, what you think, the thought police. You know, England is absolutely going nuts right now, the English who are over here in the United States, because they don't have the thought police showing up at their door. They don't. And we live in the greatest country on this God's green earth. Jehovah gave it to us, and you know, we're like a bunch of ducks in a fresh swimming pool. Go look at what ducklings and ducks do to a fresh swimming pool.
The danger of this global court has only continued to grow. Today, it threatens every aspect of our political and legal system. Border Patrol agents removing violent criminals from our country, American Marines risking their lives to defend our homeland, prosecutors working to dismantle terrorist plots to attack and kill Americans. If we stand idle, all of them would be at the mercy of foreign judges thousands of miles away, facing the constant risk of prosecution and even imprisonment for the so-called crime of defending their own country.
Yep. And this goes quadruple for the United States. You don't hear about the Iranian terrorists from Hezbollah and Hamas going to International Criminal Court. You don't hear about that. It's always the civilized West who gets ramrodded through there. You think the Chinese are going to send their criminals to the International Criminal Court? You know, this is all stemming from the Nuremberg trials when Nazi Germany, real fascists, by the way, they were on the left, not the political right, for all you Democrats out there, you Democrat socialists of America. You know, this is where it all stems from. And then you have the people back in the early 2000s who were warning us, in the late 90s who were warning us, and they were labeled as crazy, brandished as insane or lunatics. Mockery, scorn, ridicule, everything was thrown against the books because they were warning about this in the early 2000s and 90s. And dare I say in the 40s and 50s too. But we keep slipping further and further away from what got us here. You know, we brought our girl to the prom who we're going to dance with, but all of a sudden we're getting some eye contact over there from the prom queen. And she ain't looking too good at the prom king. I guess there's some schools out there that might have two prom queens. Don't judge. Let's finish this up.
The American people never agreed to any of this, and they never will. Read the words of our Declaration of Independence. We fought a revolution against a foreign power, transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretended offenses. Independence is our birthright. We will never let foreign bureaucrats take that away from us. This administration will not sit by as the ICC and its allies seek to threaten our people. If they believe they can deprive us of our sovereignty, we will teach them the full meaning of American resolve.
Amen, Brother Marco. Amen, Brother Marco. And I know that we've got at least two tier 1 A grade candidates who are going to be feeling the waters for the U.S. presidency in 2028, in Marco Rubio and J.D. Vance. And we are blessed and lucky to have them. You know, when I was over in Afghanistan or in the Persian Gulf area, I never had to worry about this thing called the ICC. But as a U.S. troop who's over there, running and gunning, doing the things that our country calls on us to do, the things that so many of my fellow countrymen don't ever want to see or even be made aware of. They couldn't stomach some of the things that our soldiers, sailors, airmen, marine, and space guardsmen view. Coast Guardsmen too. Can't forget my coasties, shallow water sailors. I'm just teasing, but no, the nation can't handle looking at the gore, the death, the real cost of war. You've got these losers on CNN and MS Now, ABC, CBS, NBC sitting there critiquing every move the U.S. military makes when they have absolutely no clue, but they feel that they have the right, and they do, to pontificate, but they get their voices amplified because of their station. And they're so damn wrong. And it irritates the crap out of me. Just like this ICC stuff irritates the crap out of me. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Boy, George just raged quit X, says he would rather chat with AI bots. We're going to talk about it. Yep. Kashem Island is under attack. It's blowing up literally just within the last 10 minutes. Oh, yeah. Welcome back to the Andrew Gosser Show on 1039 WYAB. Look, Boy George just rage quit X. Ladies and gentlemen, I've reposted on my timeline. Long story short, this is my last post on X. Good riddance to this site. Boy George rage quits X after crying and he's sick and tired of arguing with people and would prefer talking to an AI chatbot which doesn't challenge him on his views. Don't announce your departure. No one gives a whack whack. That's coming from Retard Finder, Retard of the Day. I'll repost it because Boy George is one of the people who's brought in a lot of craziness into our culture. And at the same time, during the break, it appears as though Qasem Island in the Straits of Hormuz is under attack. Some people are saying it's the United States. Some people are saying it's Kuwait. I'm saying that whole island is small enough to where we could just get 7 or 8 B-52s. It's a military target. Just level the damn thing. There's I'm looking at a satellite imagery of it now. There's an airfield on there. There's all sorts of stuff going on there. They sit there and you know, these dictators who, by the way, if you're a homosexual, if you're a lesbian, these people want you dead. Just go talk to the Gays for Palestine people and see what they think of it. I guess I say all that because I'm just so sick and tired of people who have no military expertise or experience try to dictate the narrative. And the war in Iran, and Brother Rick, who's going to be here next Tuesday, more on that later. But Brother Rick says that they're going to close down the Straits of Barbara Mandrell. I know it's not called Barbara Mandrell, but when you go through there, Baba Mandel, whatever it is, been there too many times. It's too hard to say. Those of us who were sailors in the Navy who went through the Straits of or the Suez Canal, trucking south to the Persian Gulf, you had to go through the Straits of Barbara Mandrell before you went through the Straits of Hormuz. And gas prices are up to $80 a barrel. I did fill up for $3.36 today in my Prius. Yep. But, you know, sometimes when you listen to your enemy, they will tell you exactly why they do what they do and why this fight for the Save America Act is so strong. It's why Lindsey Graham was working on it as hard as he was. It's why Mitch McConnell's fighting against it as hard as it is. It's why the people who are pulling the strings in the Senate are so much against coming out and talking about the real fate of Mitch McConnell. Look, even if he's alive on ventilators and being kept alive, he can't vote logically. He can't think. He can't go ahead and do that. He's not casting votes. Listen to this right here.
The other thing that we blocked yesterday was the SAVE Act, right? Which was literally...
Not the Save America Act, the SAVE Act. You're misquoting the title of the bill, ma'am.
Literally allow this administration to rig our democracy.
Lies. It's not rigging your democracy. It's getting the people who aren't eligible to vote off the voter rolls. Nothing more.
So that it would be hard for any Democrat in any state to win any election.
Did you hear that? Let's go back and listen to that again.
Democrat in any state to win democracy, so that it would be hard for any Democrat in any state to win any election. Rig our democracy so that it would be hard for any Democrat in any state to win any election.
So you admit the loud part, the part out loud. Democrats rely on illegal voters to win elections. It's the truth. 88%, 86% of Americans agree that the Save America Act should be passed. 82% Republicans, 76% Democrat. Brother John called into the show and asked me to find it, and I posted it. It's on my timeline. Even Democrats want this thing passed but the senators do not because they know they'll lose.
And disenfranchise all married women in the meantime.
You lying witch. You lying evil witch. That's not true. Talk about this every time. And I would know. I've been an election judge, a poll worker, whatever you want to call it in Mississippi or Illinois. Women, if your driver's license doesn't have your marital name on it, now's a great time to go get it redone. Bring in your marriage license to the DMV and say, hey, got married. Here's the marriage license. Need a new driver's license. If you can't get it done before the election, guess what? Go cast a provisional ballot and your vote will be counted. This is the biggest lie from this witch who just happens to be Alyssa Slotkin of Michigan.
Time, by the way, it just you have to show your birth certificate at the polls if you have a married name.
Imagine that, having to show your birth certificate at the polls. I don't know one American who would not be justified. And you know what? There are people who have been denied the right to vote, have no problem showing their driver's license, have no problem showing their birth certificate if their name's changed. But this is my whole plea to anybody within the sound of my voice. And I'm being serious. I know I was quoting the Fifth Element guy right there. We almost living like in the Fifth Element, it seems like. But the WYAB listening audience covers over 500,000 people. So technically, there's a chance that up to 500,000 people can be listening to my voice. Now, obviously, it's not going to be, but that's the reach. If there's anybody within the sound of my voice who needs help getting a driver's license updated, if you are a woman who needs help with that, 601-879-5060. Text me. I will help you do it. I will personally help you do it. If anybody needs help getting registered to vote, 601-879-5060. I will personally do it. I don't care what race you are, what party you are. If you are a legal resident of the United States of America and you need help making sure that you're able to vote in the upcoming election in November, text me. Don't call me. I don't answer calls at that line. But text me. I will help you. And I won't sit there and come on the air and say, oh, I helped XYZ. But I will say this. I've put this out there for over 6 months now. Do you know how many people have texted me asking for help getting registered to vote? None. Do you know why? Because it's a frickin' lie. These senators lie. They're behinds off. They're a bunch of liars. They're a bunch of schemers, connivers, thieves. They get to vote on stock trades, and they get to go ahead and use insider information to make gazillions, Republicans and Democrats. I'm being equal opportunity hater here. But when it comes to the Save America Act, we can't do enough to get this passed. We can't do enough to get this passed. And that type of witch that I just quoted on right there did that. But let's go take this a step further, ladies and gentlemen. I know if it gets to break, I don't care. Senator Rick Scott demands Senate cancel vacation to pass Trump agenda. This is coming from the Tampa Free Press. And Rick Scott, we love Rick Scott. He's out there in the public square taking arrows not only from the left, from the right. This one meme, I can't find it, but I did see it. Said Senator Rick Scott was a Twitter tiger and senatorial putty tat. I won't say the word. Senator Rick Scott, you are, man, you know, I might just have to send him a check. Might just have to send him a check because he's one people out there actually fighting for the Trump agenda, fighting to get it done. Meanwhile, our United States Senate is absolute hot garbage. It's trash. We should get rid of them all. You know, when President Obama was president, public laws passed, over 110 public laws passed. Day one of the Trump administration, that number dropped to 70. Joe Biden, that number stayed about the same. I'd say it dropped to 60, 65. Now, currently, President Trump, 38 bills passed. How the hell are we supposed to get anything done when the United States Senate only passes 38 bills in a legislative output? You can find this graph on my X account. Look, you can't get stuff done. Get the heck out of the way. Nothing irritated military leadership more when they could see the potential of a troop, sailor, airman, Marine, Coast Guardsman, Space Guardsman, and you got some loser in mid-level management stopping the mission from getting done. The United States Senate is stopping the mission from getting done, and that's protecting the United States of America. It's infuriating to me. Good on Rick Scott for getting out there. Good on Mike Lee for getting out there. Senator Wicker, Senator Hyde Smith, where are you? Woo woo. When we get back, we'll see what Senator Wicker is talking about. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Hey, if you haven't yet, if you wouldn't mind liking the stream, sharing the stream, I sure would appreciate it. I see you, Carl. I owe you a phone call right after the show. Absolutely. You are listening to the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. Carl jumping in right before we getting back from the commercial break. And we're going to have Brother Carl on the radio. It's either going to be this Friday or next Friday. I'm not quite sure yet, but we're going to make that happen. I owe you a phone call. Before the break, I teased that we were going to find out what our senator, the senior senator from the great state of Mississippi, the Honorable Roger Wicker. Yes, he is honorable. I won't sit there and slag him off. He wrote a op-ed in the Magnolia Tribune on July 10th. I've had this in the stack, just haven't gotten to it. And you know what you write your op-eds about is really going to tell you where the good senator's mind's at. And this is the headline: U.S. Supreme Court protects gun owners, women's sports, and opens up the United States to illegal aliens. Which part was added and which part did he write? As late June ended, so did another term at the U.S. Supreme Court. Since 2025-2026, the term began last October. The court has considered questions impacting the wide range of issues: economics, immigration, gender, presidential authority, and more. The 9 justices do not serve any political party. Nope. And neither Republicans nor Democrats agree with every decision. But conservatives should appreciate the outcomes of a few cases in particular. And I wanted to read that paragraph because there is a point that Senator Wicker's making that is justified. On the court, there are no Republicans, there are no Democrats. There are traditionalist conservatives who believe that the document is written as read. And the liberals, justices, they think that it's a living, breathing document, that words change, meanings change over time. But if you're a traditionalist, you believe that the words mean what they meant at the time it was written, which would be true. Court upholds Second Amendment. There were a lot of 2A victories. I'm not going to go through them, but the senator outlines them diligently. And we love the Second Amendment here at WYAB. I think all of us practice our Second Amendment rights at WYAB. Some of us are a little bit better shots than others. Some of us are a little bit worse of a shot than we used to be. But don't let's not test that. Justices protect women's sports. They did. It was a great day. Now men who are pretending to be women and then have lesbian tendencies can't participate in women's track and field, women's swimming. It's good. They don't have to wear tuck bathing suits anymore. If you know, you know. And the court protects founders' vision. And this is the one that I want to read. These decisions are not simple, but the 67 cases the court considered over the past 9 months, as always, the justice's job was to interpret both the Constitution and the American statutes. Statistics from the term reveal that the court takes on that role seriously. Though more cases were decided along ideological lines this year than last year, 9%, jumping to 22.7%, 44% of the decisions were unanimous. Even the justice who is in the minority, the most often, Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, was in the majority 67% of the time. Yeah, Ketanji Brown Jackson should never be on the Supreme Court. God have mercy on us. The vote breakdown reveals vigorous deliberation and thoughtful judicial interpretation. Justice Elena Kagan did not always vote with her and her 2 liberal colleagues, and the conservative justices did not always vote in a block, specifically when it came to birthright immigration and birthright citizenship. I'm sorry, but Amy Coney Barrett and Chief Justice, absolute unmitigated disasters. That was an unmitigated disaster. Because what happens when we pass a law that goes into effect? Does it automatically retro go back in time to all those people who were here illegally, the mess that we've created with this. And Senator, I'm speaking to you. You know, we've met a couple times. We've shook hands. You would recognize me in a crowd. Staffers would politely get in the way if I made a beeline to try to talk to you, but that's okay. I get it. I truly understand. But to the people out there who vote, who go door knocking, not the ones who make the phone calls to get the people out to go do stuff, the ones who actually go do stuff, you know the ones. We want the Save America Act passed pronto. And we know you have a lot of political capital stored up in your political cachet, some would say, but it's a cash. You need to spend it on the Save America Act. You need to save it on the Trump agenda. I'm not saying that you and I agree with everything that President Trump does. We've been very vocal and very articulate and also very respectful when we disagree with President Trump, just like I am very respectful when I disagree with you or Cindy Hyde-Smith, Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith, or Congressman Michael Guest, or Congressman Trent Kelly, or Congressman Mike Ezel. I can never say his name. I wanted to say Mike Ezekiel, but it's Mike Ezel. Or even Congressman Benny Thompson. I don't need to sit there and trash them. Where we agree, we agree. Where we disagree, we disagree. There was a senator from West Virginia. I can't remember Senator Byrd from West Virginia. Remember him? The senior Democrat who used to talk about senatorial comedy, the ability to talk with the other side. Yep, he was also one of the leaders of the KKK that the Democrats promoted all throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Terrible. But even he realized that the errors of his ways. Even he said that we needed to have agreement on this. You've got several senators who are wanting to make a deal on the Save America Act because they're coming up for a vote in 2028. And Chuck Schumer, as Rush would say, Chuck you Schumer, has even realizing that he's got problems in 2028. The reason why the Democrats, by the way, are making such a big push in the Senate races this year is because there are more Republicans at risk than Democrats. This is the biggest Republican pool of senators that are up for election. In 2028, 2030, it'll be more Democrats that are up for election in contested elections in border battleground states. The Senate is a mess. John Fetterman is honestly one of the better voices of reason. You know, there's a way to come out and say you're going to support the Save America Act without saying you're going to support the Save America Act. Senator Wicker and Senator Hyde-Smith. You could just copy and paste what Senator Fetterman has posted, talking about the need to uphold the traditions of the United States, that borders and security are important, that we need to move on this bill. You can do it. I have faith in you. Not as much faith that I have in God, but I have faith in you. And I know that there's a lot of people listening who are sitting there shaking their head. There goes Andy again, trying to extend the olive branch. Yep. But that's just the way I roll. And that's why when people say biblical worldviews, I actually bring it out and show it. We got to be that way. We can't just sit there and just start smashing people. You are tuned into the Andrew Gosser Show on 103.9 WYAB. We'll be right back. Hey, we're going to shut it down for the day, but I appreciate everybody who tuned in on the streams. It makes a big deal to me. It means a big deal to me. Thank you so much.
Billboards. You can pay $3,950 if you want to have birth naturally, make your child a U.S. citizen.
Are you kidding?
Your
Oh, yeah.
foreign board C-section, $5,525. I spoke with Ken Paxton on this, and he showed me pictures where there are houses in Texas that look residential. So it could be your neighbor's house, and you go inside the house, and there are rows of bassinets where Chinese women are coming, giving billboards. You can pay $3,950.
Yeah. For the 2 hours, where did it go? You are listening to Andrew Gosser on 103.9 WYAB. Senator Wicker, Senator Hyde Smith, I just want to give you this one last piece of news. This is coming from Fox News, not always the most reliable, but when it comes to reporting like this and I can validate the claims, I think it's important. It's not here in Mississippi, but it is in Texas. The Save America Act. This is another reason it needs to be passed, senators.
Billboards. You can pay $3,950 if you want to have birth naturally, make your child a U.S. citizen.
Are you kidding?
Your
Oh, yeah.
foreign board C-section, $5,525. I spoke with Ken Paxton on this, and he showed me pictures where there are houses in Texas that look residential. So it could be your neighbor's house, and you go inside the house, and there are rows of bassinets where Chinese women are coming, giving birth to a child, then going back to the Chinese Communist Party, educating their child there, and they have U.S. citizenship, which could amount to more than 1 million new voters in this country.
Think about that, ladies and gentlemen. It's the long game. It's just like when they did the ICC 25 years ago. It's just like when they took the Bible out of the school in the 1950s. It's the long game. Politics is a long game. You've got to play it. Senators, there's more to this.
Over time.
Only a stupid nation would allow this to happen. They also have a website, havemybabyintexas.com. By the way,
And I'm sorry I played this the last segment. Someone go to havemybabyintexas.com and see if that's real. Let me know in the chat.
big border advertisement right there is miles away from the border. So their audience are people that are crossing back and forth. And by the way, if you think it's just Mexicans, no, that's just a checkpoint right there. People are traveling from all across the world to come to Mexico to go pregnant. They could have their baby here in the state of Texas. And, you know, as a result of that, their kids are going to be American citizens. Congress has to codify this law.
Yeah.
Congress has to codify this law. Senator Wicker, Senator Hyde Smith, the people are behind you. The people of Mississippi are behind you. You are in a Republican plus 12 state. You know this better than us. You know this better than most. Not better than me. I know it just as well as you do. But I am a recovering politician. Happily in retirement. But we need you to act on this. You want to talk about good, positive press? It would happen. It would happen. And all of us Republican precinct delegates, have we reached out to our senators and dropped that we were a Republican delegate? County chairs, have you called up your senators and said, hey, you know, I am the county chair of County X? Mayors, you should be all over this. These illegal aliens are taking valuable resources out of your communities and giving them to people who don't even live there. Think about this. This is a great investment for the Communist Chinese Party. $3,995 for a birth in the United States. So you're talking for $100 million, you could basically buy off the state of Texas in 20 years. What type of return on investment is that? Flipping Texas in 20 years, 30 years, paying for all these birthright abortions. It's disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. Only a stupid nation would allow it to happen. That commentator on Fox was right. Only a stupid nation would allow an invasion like this. Senator Wicker, Senator Hyde-Smith, we are not stupid. We see what's happening. Don't you? Don't you see what's happening to us? You got grandkids. You've got great grandkids. Don't you want the same nation that was great to you, great for them? No amount of money is going to protect them from that. Because it's not just going to be communist Chinese, the Chi-Coms. It's going to be the radical Islamists who you don't recognize yet either, but we do. Look, it was a great show. I'm so honored and blessed to be here, and I'm grateful for each and every one of you who tunes in every day. Until next time, take care, everybody. Be blessed. Yes, and amen. Amen, ladies and gentlemen.